Welcome back to Art 371, an introduction to video projection mapping. This is a review of your final independent projects for the class. So I'm trying to make this as clear as possible and give you guys all the options that you have. So final projects, as it says here, are set up to be self-directed. But that being said, I wanted to have a solid research component and some kind of story or concept development emphasis on the project. So students are encouraged to research a subject and develop a concept with a personal connection to your lives, to something that you're really interested in, to your history, to your community, whatever it is that really drives you. A project, a story, an idea that you've been wanting to express in creative ways that you've never had a chance to, that you think video mapping or light-based art is going to do a good job with. It's going to really kind of maybe enhance or take that idea or that story to the next level. So I really want you to connect to something that you're passionate about, not just something you think that's going to get you a good grade in the class, but something that you really want to explore. And you're going to use video mapping and projected light to do that. And everything you've learned in this class so far. But like I said, I want you to do some research. I want you to research other artists and designers that are working in similar veins as you. I want you to do research on the technology that you're going to need to use, on the concept, the idea that you're trying to express. If it's something very narrative driven, I want you to kind of maybe think about storyboarding it out or think about the structure and the overall way that you're going to do the digital storytelling. If it's something more abstract, I think you could still sketch things out, really work through some different prototyping of your idea, a lot of testing, and getting critique along the way. But all that being said, I do allow this to be a group project if you want. This can be an individual project, so that's up to you. Successful projects are also going to include a proposal, and in this proposal, I really want you to write this up in Word or some equivalent platform, save it as a PDF, but it needs to have a brief written description. It needs to have sketches, maybe a mood board of images and other artists that you like, that you think you want to try some of their techniques or mash them up in different ways, come up with your own. Like I said, save it as a Word doc, share it on Canvas, and then you're also going to present that on Flipgrid. You should also have a basic timeline of how you're going to complete it in the last few weeks of school. So try to work that into your proposal so it's clear that this is a project that's within scope. And this is, you can see the first link here is a link to just where you're going to kind of present your proposal idea. And if you come to Flipgrid here, you can see there's now a final project proposal Flipgrid, and then there's a final project critique and presentation Flipgrid, just like we've done for all the other projects. So that's why there's two links. The first one here is for the proposal. The second one is for the final critique. Try to describe the project in detail. In the final version of it, you need to show photo and video documentation. You can screencast definitely in Flipgrid and talk through and walk us through what worked, what didn't work, what you maybe had some difficulty with, what you discovered along the way. And then obviously give feedback on both the proposal and the final critique to at least 3 other students in your class. Give them feedback on their projects. And in the end, you're also going to write a 500+ word response about the project on Canvas. So that's the kind of technical breakdown of it. But really, this is your opportunity to do something you've always wanted to do, something you want to explore, push some boundaries, take that technology you've learned to the next level, and see where you can go. If you have any questions or trouble just coming up with a concept, I'm happy to have a little brainstorming session with you. Usually in 20-30 minutes, we can come up with a good idea to get you moving in a new direction. But maybe this will inspire you. I'm going to show a couple of exemplar projects from last fall when I ran this class. And you're going to see some really nice video documentation on some of these, and that's something to think about, particularly in an online version of this class where we can't maybe present in person or do a live demo of it. The video documentation is going to be really matters. So think about getting a lot of different angles, working on that camera quality, the exposure, the shutter speed, the ISO, all of that, and maybe editing it all together as some of these past students have. All right, this first student I'm going to show you did kind of a live setup. Hopefully you can hear some of the audio come through my speakers. He actually designed his own little mini DJ stage setup. And there is space over at school. I actually have an empty room if you need a lockable space that has a combo on the door. We did this in an empty classroom over in Friday Annex, or you could do this at home or in whatever space you have. And he really just played with these primary colors and shapes, really matched it up to his audio. He was doing a lot of work with Ableton Live and connecting those together through Soundflower. Most of this was all done with Touch Designer. But really just, you know, simple syncing, but very effective, and then obviously it speeds up as he goes. And then he had his friends get in there and play DJ while he was running his light show, which the shadow back there is definitely a nice little extra effect there. But obviously the documentation is cut together really well. He played with a lot of little like primary color patterns and shapes, some cool close-ups and details. He actually built this whole thing out of foam core with a very light little wood frame, hot glue, tape on the inside. It was rigged together. Oh, I'm sorry, he used Velcro, sticky Velcro, so I could actually break it down, put it in his car, and put it back together again, which I thought was a great idea. I think you can see a little bit of tape up in a few spots there that he had some parts of it that were breaking down on him, but overall, I think it came together really well. Nice example if you want to do something live. He even hooked up one of his little touch pads to trigger everything through Touch Designer. I'm happy to show you guys how to do that if you happen to have access to one of those little boards. But overall, really nice live setup. All right. This student, Danielle, she was an art major, and she really wanted to kind of create more of like a hung show, like a moving gallery show. So this documentation isn't as good. This is like her cell phone documentation, basically. I wish she had edited this together a little bit better. You kind of hear everybody talking in the background. So she actually had picture frames there that she hung on the wall and then mapped her own little animations to these picture frames, which was a really cool idea. It looked really great. And then I'll let her kind of pan through. There's a whole frame, kind of a staging frame that she put around it. So, you know, think about that. You know, maybe it's like just turning something more traditional into something a little bit more conceptual and avant-garde. And you can have fun with that. I'm just going to move forward a little bit. And then she created this kind of, like I said, a little bit of like a curtain set up around it and mapped it onto a wall in Friday Annex again for the final presentation. So, nice idea, pretty well executed, and some nice simple animations. But the documentation could have been a lot better. All right, this one is a really neat one, and the documentation's great. I'm going to turn up the audio on it. This is called Ebb and Flow. This student actually made a little mini world out of foam core and little kind of like paper sculpture, and then he video mapped onto it. So it was all white materials kind of glued together. And then he created this really amazing narrative with sound effects. Just a really cool digital storytelling experience that kind of flows through these different time cycles. And really nice audio. Has the lighthouse there and these little trees that he built. We're using dowel rods and pencils and foam core, and painted it all white and then mapped onto it and kind of had these changes of daytime. I think he used like a little piece of like transparency for the water to make it shiny. But you can see those layers of foam core there. You can buy layers of foam core like this at art supply stores or at Staples. And then you got these little moving water patterns that he projected onto it. Really effective, especially with the audio kind of tying it all together. And he even put that little background behind it on a big curved piece of poster board to kind of give it that little 360 effect. And I'm going to let it go here just a little bit longer. I think it goes into like a night mode next. Yep. He started putting some different layers of the imagery of the lighthouse into the background. I'm just going to kind of scroll through a little bit. So really got a nice sense of the passage of time. And at night there with the clouds in the sky, mixed some video imagery with some 2D design imagery. But really effective and a great way to kind of map onto your own custom 3D environment. And really nice camera work, like moving through it. You know, just a really neat way to kind of show off a piece like this, actually traveling through the space. And then the nice nighttime shots there with the stars. So very, very effective. Oh, and there goes the lighthouse sending out its signals. All right. Next one is Michael. Michael is a really great animator, and he used the space in our Fab Lab to create this amazing animation. So I hope you enjoy it. And this is just shot by shot that he put this all together, and then obviously edited it together with audio later. Really didn't mess with the environment, moved a few things around, but just used the things that were in the room as his scene to then map these little characters that he made onto it. And he did this all with the After Effects plugin and Malumin mapping through so that he could just go scene by scene and just make it work and then render it and then play it back. I love the computer as like the ocean or swimming pool that they swim through for a second. This is around the laser cutter. So again, if you want to use our spaces, you all have access still to those spaces, or you could do something like this at home. And then it's like him using his actual camera to film it all and get the right angles. I love that. Out of scene, you couldn't see the doorknob. And they finally escape the room. There we go. He's still trapped. But Redman got out. So really inventive, really fun. Great way to use the space, right? Alright, show a few more here. Oh, Michael did a behind the scenes video too, just to kind of show you how he made this whole thing. So he actually used Clip Studio Paint. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that's what he was using on this one. Whoops, sorry, got off the video there for a second. I thought he was using After Effects. See, he basically took still images and used them as a template in the background. And then, yeah, used this app called Clip Studio Paint to draw them all in. But you could do this in After Effects as well. Have a lot of fun with it and go frame by frame. Really nice behind the scenes footage to kind of show us how we put the whole thing together. And a simple character, kind of keeping it stick figure-esque to make it work, right? There we go. It's another student, Trevor, he was a theater major, and he did this whole Macbeth set production. So he created his own little mini world as well, and then did some really nice spoken word narrative over top of it. I don't think he used foam core. I think he used like a variety of materials, wood and found objects. So his documentation here is more still imagery. I think that's like a styrofoam cup. There's some actual video of things moving. It's like a miniature little stage setup of what he would do at a full scale if he was doing this as a theater production. But a nice mix of documentation here. Sometimes you have still images that capture it better, sometimes you have video. So think about how you're going to bring that all together into a final documentation video. I'm going to clip through a little bit more here. If you've ever taken a theater class, you know there's lots of models and mock-ups made. This is some of his behind-the-scenes footage of how he put this whole thing together. Obviously using Touch Designer for a lot of it. And Kantan Mapper. So again, a really nice setup and a nice bit of documentation. Last one, we had a student that wanted to do kind of an old school video installation with TV screens. And actually, some of it's projected. So one or two of those TVs aren't actually showing footage on the actual TV. He sprayed the screen with like kind of a white, off-white paint. Or actually, no, I think he used like that window spray that will like fog out a window, like for a bathroom window. And then he's using a projector to project onto them. You can see a little overlap coming there at the bottom. It looks like it's on the TV, but most of these TVs didn't even function. I think at least one of them actually turned on and he ran something from like an old VCR or a DVD player, but the rest is all projected onto the screen itself. Which is why you see that little glare in the center. That's actually the projector reflecting back. But a really, really nice kind of, throwback to 70s, 80s, 90s kind of analog video installations and video art. So he did a lot of neat research on that, and I think was inspired by quite a few artists from the past. Again, really nice documentation, lots of close-ups of different parts of it, all cut together with a single audio track. Just kind of helps tell the story and give the whole kind of vibe of what the actual installation looked like. There we go. I'll just kind of scroll through a little bit more. It's a pretty long one. It's like 4 or 5 minutes worth of documentation. He really loved the analog vibe of all the little tracking, noise, and scrubbing. If anybody's interested in exploring an aesthetic like this, I can definitely point you in the right direction. I did a lot of this back in the day, and there are a lot of neat ways to make that happen. So hopefully those examples will kind of help you think about where you want to go for your final project. Again, it's up to you, but it needs to have a research component. It needs to have a strong concept and idea behind it. You need to have solid documentation in the end, a good proposal, all of that. And you need to present both your proposal and your final piece on Flipgrid. That's it for now. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and thanks for tuning in.